5 reasons why businesses fail and how you can avoid it in this video. Stay tuned. I am Ryan Knoll, business coach and entrepreneur. I'm the guy that's banged my head against the wall for years and years and years to learn how to do this stuff so I can show you. Over the years of doing marketing for businesses, coaching businesses, I've seen so many of them fail and they're all doing the same stuff. I want to show you what they're doing so you can avoid it, because I don't want to see you fail. We're going to get through this. We're going to do this. 89% of small businesses fail. There are so many mistakes that I see them making over and over again. So many different things. We're going to get into all of those right now. The most important mistake is going to be the 5th one. So hang on, because you're not going to want to miss this. Listen to me, hang on. 5th one. Stay tuned. This is a hard thing for me to talk about because it's so personal. Not only have I failed in business, I was trying to be an entrepreneur since I was 16 years old. I started so many things and saw them crash and burn because I had the wrong partnerships or didn't keep enough money in the bank or whatever. This is really personal. Not only have I gone through it, but so many of the people that I've met throughout the years, whether I was, doing digital marketing or coaching, it's very often that people will come up and say, hey, I'm like a month away from not being able to make payroll. I can't make the next payroll. I'm struggling. Sometimes it's just too late to help at that point, and there's nothing you can do when you get too far down the rabbit hole. It's like, hey, we just got to reboot and redo this business over again because we messed up. I don't want anybody to get there. This is a very, very personal thing for me. I've seen so many businesses go through it. We're going to keep you from doing it. First thing that gets people into a sticky situation is not believing in themselves. It seems corny to say out loud, so I'm just going to call that out. It seems weird, but it's 1,000% true. 90% of the time when somebody comes to me for coaching, they know what to do, but for some reason they're not doing it. For some reason they're not holding themselves accountable. They're not setting goals for themselves. It blows me away. But at the same time, I've been there too. Like, I've been the business owner that was failing and I knew what I had to do. But sometimes when you're in that darkness, in that depression, in that, anxiety, it's hard to take the next step. It's hard to, make a positive move, but you have to do it. You have to get out of your own way. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you can do it and that you shouldn't give up. You should keep working on your business, as long as your business isn't something like crazy. But for the most part, you're your own worst enemy when you're running a company. When you're the owner of a business, if you've got an employee that's driving you up the wall, if you've got policies in the company that aren't working, if the marketing's not working, the messaging isn't working, you made it all. You built this company. You can fix it. It's not that, hey, you're responsible. It's that, hey, you can fix it. You can change these things. You put them together. You did it once before. You can do it again. And we can get this business to a better place, but we need to get out of our own way. We need to get out of our own way, start believing in ourselves, and start moving forward. The second mistake is not telling the people in your life that you're starting a business and what this is going to take and what's going to be involved. I don't know how many times businesses have had to shut down or just couldn't go anywhere because the significant other wasn't on board or the family wasn't on board. And now, the entrepreneur is just out of it. You're out of it. You're not talking to the kids. You're not, going to the soccer practices. And all of a sudden you're struggling to run this business and you've got tons of pressure over there. There's tons of weight over there. And now there's weight on the family and weight on you from the family to grow the business or to get back to them. Really, like, they don't care about the business as much as like, hey, are the bills paid? Cool. Now take Billy to soccer practice. And that's not happening because you got this sales call you got to do. You got this other thing you got to do. And the weight just starts kind of coming down and crushing you. You need to have your family on board. And a huge mistake I see people making is not having that conversation up front. Whether you're going to buy a company now or starting a new one, the first conversation you should have before you look at your big money lenders and business partners is with your significant other. Hey, I'm going to be gone a lot, but it's really important to me that I build this company and I want to do this for our future. I'm doing it for our, future, for our growth. but it's going to be a couple of years of hell going through it. And if you're not having that conversation and being candid about that, and they're not on board, they didn't buy in too, you're going to be alone. And you're not going to be able to build a company alone. The third reason why businesses fail is having a partnership set up that can't support the business, or doesn't have the ability, didn't think through how we're going to solve arguments. One of my good friends who owns a business had a partnership like this. When he first started out, he got a loan of $10,000 to start the business so he could kind of put that money into the business and grow it. That partner got 50% equity for 10 grand, which is a bad deal, but that's aside the point. They eventually got to a point where the business is at an inflection point. One of these points where you need to start reinvesting in the business to have the business grow. Other partner, the 50% partner, does not want to reinvest in the business. He just wants to take his dividend out. So now they're bumping heads. They're at odds with each other, and they didn't work out a way in the agreement to solve this. So that for a lot of people, on paper, it's like, oh, well, we'll just make sure I've got 49%, or I've got 51 and they've got 49 or whatever. You can just write this out. This is how we solve an agreement. Like, hey, if we're stuck here, we can hire an arbiter, or decisions about this type of a topic. I know more about marketing, so if it's a marketing decision, I'm just going to pull the trigger on the marketing thing, and I can veto your decision. But work these things out, just like when you're in a relationship with your significant other. Work out how you're going to solve arguments before you get into the argument, because once you're in the argument, there's fire, there's heat, and we can never do anything about it. So with this buddy of mine, this is where he's stuck. He can't get to the next level, and there's really not a lot he can do about it. The fourth thing for where businesses go wrong, where businesses fail, is not having enough money in the business. There's a temptation, especially when we're early in a career, early in a business, to just take out all the money. Hey, I'm making good money, I'm gonna take it out. But you need to have a level of discipline. And we want to have at least 3 to 4 months of runway in the company at all times. And what that means is, if you've got $10,000 worth of payroll and marketing expenses every month, let's have 40 grand in that account and just keep it there. Rainy day fund, emergency fund. So if you've ever read a book called Profit First, this is your vault account. This is the account that when you can't make payroll, or we missed something, or a marketing expense ran over, you can grab it out of that account. You don't want to ever have to be putting personal money into a company. You want the company to fund this account. Just make sure you have it. Make sure you have an emergency fund somewhere. You've got some extra cash running around for anything that could come up, because you never know when something tragic is going to happen at a customer's house and you got to replace that, $3,000 rug. Or 2020 was a thing and nobody was working for a couple of months. That was a real thing that happened. And the businesses that didn't have some money set aside, that didn't have that 3 to 4 months, because it didn't take much longer than that. It was like 2 or 3 months of like, hey, we don't know when we're going to make our next dollar, but then we all got back to work. And if you had that 4 months worth of runway, you could have done that, easily glided through it. Have that emergency fund. If you can do 6 months, if you can do a year, better, but at least 3 to 4. Put it into that account, keep it safe, and you have to be diligent with this. So when you're trying to set up this account, don't try to just put it all in at once. Just, every time you get a check, every week, every month, set up a time and just take 10% of whatever you made, 10% of your profits, 20% of your profits, whatever you can afford to put in there, and just move it in every single month until that account has that 100 grand in it that you need to be safe and secure. The fifth and most important thing for your business. I don't know how many people I talk to who don't want to set money aside for this, but have insurance. Make sure you're covered. General liability insurance, workers' comp insurance, hired non-owned auto insurance, errors and emissions insurance. A lot of people skip out on errors and emissions. You never know what's going to happen. And we don't plan on bad things happening, but when things happen, you need to be covered. Great example, I have a friend running a successful company. He thought he was fully covered with everything because he had his general liability insurance, he had his workers' comp insurance. Cool, that covers me. It's like an umbrella policy. And through the course of his work, they damaged the floors in a customer's house. Just put in brand new floors, and they were damaged. And he's like, okay, cool. This is why I have insurance. But the insurance company said, no, we're not going to do that because your job, you were working on the floors and you should have known through the process of your work not to damage them because this was just what you do every day. So it was a mistake on your part and not something that like, hey, you knocked over a, mop into a painting or whatever. You knocked over a vase. So they wouldn't cover it. It ended up costing him about $20,000 because he thought it was general liability insurance, but what he really needed was errors and omissions. So make sure when you're talking to your insurance broker that you get everything. Run them through the scenarios. Like, what happens if I make a mistake and this air conditioner I installed explodes? What happens if the service vehicle's brakes go out and I run through a person's, garage door, which has happened to businesses that I've known. These things do happen. Be prepared for it. Have your insurance and have all the insurance you need. If your business is struggling or you're worried about something or you just need a checkup for your business, post it in the comments below. Let me know what you're going through, what you're struggling with, what your thoughts are, what your feelings are, and let's talk through it. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.